Obviously, as always, if there's anything that isn't right for you, please don't do it. Have a rest or do something that you would rather do. I sent out a message a few days ago, and it was kind of prompted by somebody saying, oh, do you have any exercises for swimming, and do you have any exercises for I'm getting a little bit of pain when I'm running, because I'm doing more running than normal. And I know some people are doing more sitting than they normally would. Some people are doing more gardening than they normally would. So I thought we'd start off tonight actually doing a little bit of manual handling, I suppose you would best call it. Starting by thinking about people who, because there are quite a few people who are sitting at desks at home that are possibly not ideally set up. Those of you who come to my classes, you will have done this with me occasionally, but you might just have forgotten it. So just to help with that. And then we'll have a little bit of a think about standing postures while we're working. And then we'll get on to actually kind of going down to doing your typical Pilates. I also, like I say, so I'll incorporate some stuff for swimming, some stuff for tight calves and hamstrings, and somebody said that they were getting tightness in their glutes or their buttocks, so we'll do some stretches for that as well. And I'll let you know when we're doing those things, and then that way you can make note of it. And if anybody else has anything, probably not for tonight, it's a bit late to think about it now, but by all means just get in contact with me and we can start incorporating those things into classes if you want. Okay, so anyway, sitting, as I say, there's an awful lot of people at the moment. Thankfully I'm not one of them. Oh, somebody's unmuted. Let me just remute this quickly. Hang on. Let me just do mute all again. I think that's everybody. Mute all. Okay, so yes, if you are finding that you are sitting, you know, some people are sat at the kitchen tables, some people have rigged up a little desk somewhere else. It might just be that you're spending more time looking at a computer screen talking to your family because, you know, we can't see people. And there's a good way to sit, and then there's a couple of bad ways to sit. And I think we pretty much all know that it's pretty bad to sit in a slump position. What most people don't know, and there is somebody that I was talking to that made me think of this, is that we can also sit too upright, okay? And we think we're being really good, and we think we're sitting well because we've got this kind of really tall head, but actually you've sent the back from what we term a neutral position, I'm just going to let somebody in, into a forward sitting or an anterior position, okay? So there's a couple of little tests you can do. I think you're all sitting on your chairs. If you slide your hands underneath your buttocks, hopefully everyone's arms are just long enough. Oh, somebody else coming in. So slide your hands and you should feel your sit bones. Oh, 3 people. You should feel your sit bones underneath your buttocks. Okay, there are those 2 bony points. Oh, and somebody else. I think people are dropping in and out for some reason. Okay. Yeah, you've got those 2 bony points. I like to think of them like icebergs. So the tips of the icebergs. Okay, upside down. If you sit up too tall, they disappear out behind you. And if you slump, they disappear in front of you. Okay? So just have a little go at that. Sit up too tall, and they disappear. And your back becomes very, what we call lordotic, so there's a big hollow curve in the back. And that in itself, if you were to sit like that for long periods, you're going to tighten the muscles in the lumbar spine. And I don't know if the person who asked me about the tight buttocks, yes she is, I can see you, I won't say your name but I can see that you're there. If you sit too tall and you're squashing your back together, then what's called your thoracolumbar fascia, so it's a deep fascia that goes across the base of the spine, that will tighten and that will start to tighten up your glutes. So I don't know if that's you or not, okay? If you go too slumpy, you're likely to start getting neck and shoulder pains, okay? So the first way, as I say, to tell is literally have a little sit on the hands and feel whether or not you do just feel like you've just got those points of those sit bones, which is where you should be, or if you lose your sit bones either forwards or backwards, okay? So that's one way. The other rule that I always have with sitting for periods of time is we should not be using the back of the chair, okay? Okay, maybe at the end of an 8-hour day, we might want a bit of a rest, but really we should be utilising, our feet should be on the floor, our feet and knees should be hip distance apart, which is hard if you're there for a long time. Sometimes that does mean that you do need a foot raise, okay, so ideally I have my feet up here, not down there. And it's no good if we're kind of sitting like that for a period of time, or we start to sit like that for a period of time. So it is really important to maintain that alignment in sitting as well as in standing. And if you don't, as I say, and you're sitting for long periods of time, you're likely to start developing tightnesses. Okay. With regards then, so we're sitting correctly from our pelvis. Another little test that I like to do, and this is really applicable if you're spending a lot of time typing, writing, doing stuff in front of you on a table. If you all just go into a slump for a moment, so I know some of you have done this with me, okay? First of all, what you'll see is your head comes forward of your shoulders, you shorten and tighten up the back of the neck, okay? So that's not good for the neck and develops neck problems. But what I also want you to feel, if you float your arms up like that, okay, I think most of you normally agree with me that they feel quite heavy in that position. Okay? And most of us can start to tell where is working. It might be a bit different in all of us. So for example, I know that I'm working quite hard here and here to maintain that. Okay. So now lower the arms, sit up onto your sit bones, which comes from your pelvis. That should automatically bring your head on top of your shoulders, on top of your pelvis in alignment, and then lift your arms up again. And hopefully what you'll feel is that your arms are much, much lighter. Okay, so slump position, arm lift, heavy arms, we know where's working. Sit up tall, arm lifts, much lighter arms, and also it's harder to tell what is working. And the reason for that is because everything is working as it should be. So you're just utilising the stabilisers deep down around the abdominals, but also around the shoulders and in the neck. Okay. So hopefully that's just a little tiny, I can see a couple of you playing with it, which is nice, okay? So, you know that if you're the people that are currently stuck at home working long hours at a not ideal desk setup, you really think about it. The other thing that's really, really important, have a keyboard and have a computer that is at eye level, okay? Otherwise, you end up doing that and that's just really terrible, okay? So that's your desk people. That's all I wanted the chair for tonight, was to talk the people who are stuck at desks through that, okay? So then there's the other group of people who are not stuck at desks, but maybe find themselves at home a lot more. There's a lot of garden digging going on, and it's the time of year to be getting our plant pots sorted out and tending to our borders and putting our flowers in, okay? And again, I've had somebody this week who I've been talking to about the manual handling aspect of this. Because if, let's just say, for example, you've got something about here that you're tending to. Okay, there's a lot of box sorting going on as well, because we've got lofts full of boxes that need sorting. Okay, so you've got stuff kind of in front of you here. Or if you are somebody who gardens on the ground and you've got your stuff down there. The worst thing you can do, but you might think it's good, is actually, if we hold that posture, stick our bums out behind us like that, and then you're working there with long lever, heavy arms, what you'll feel if you have a little go at that is it's your lower back that is holding all the time. You then only have to have the weight of a trowel or, you know, a couple of scoops of soil. I'm going for the gardening here. Never mind actually lifting some pots or boxes towards you, and suddenly your back is doing an awful lot of work and it's tightening a great deal. Okay, so this is what we practice and practice and practice, and it's always the point of Pilates is to make your daily function better. That is the purpose. Okay. So I do talk to you a lot about this, but I sometimes think it's hard to take it into practice, and it can be. But you have to think about the fact that it is your glutes, your buttocks, that support your back. So as I say, across your back, from your glutes up to your shoulders, you've got this cross of, it's called fascia, it's thoracolumbar fascia, so it goes from your thorax down through your lumbar spine, and it turns into your glutes, okay? If your glutes are working, they will support your back. So when you're doing anything that is a little bit laboured, it can be washing the car, it can be hoovering, gardening, digging, all of those things, sorting things on a table in front of you, even peeling the spuds, you want to have your glutes working. To do that, some of us might want to soften our knees a little bit. Okay, you might want to stand in a slight lunge stance so that you've got particularly one glute fired up and the other one. Okay, and then we can turn and twist off that and work off it. And when you're bending forwards, so you know when, like, for example, we go down, come from a deep squat, and I get you to stand up with your glutes. This is why, okay, because then when we're doing that gardening and things, you want to kind of be in a position where your bottom is working as you reach out. And I want you to have a tiny little play before we then move on. So if you stick your bum out behind you, but you hold this rigid, what you think is a good posture back, and then take your arms out in front of you, just feel how heavy your arms are and feel how much work is going on in that back, okay? Then, yeah, I can see someone practicing possibly their digging, I think. And then take yourself, no, I think it was paddleboarding, was it? Yes. And then take yourself into a soft knees, not squats, just a soft knees, but in a position where you feel that your bum is working. Take your arms back in front of you, and hopefully you'll feel that your back's doing very little and that your arms are light and actually you can move. Okay, whereas if you're there, moving's quite difficult. So we become very one-dimensional. If you're here, we can move, twist, rotate, we can do everything. Okay, and I know that there are some people that do some quite heavy work. I know we've got some people who deal with sheep and livestock. So all of this stuff, it's not just sitting in one little, somebody's very much practicing their paddleboarding stance. So yeah, it's not just down to doing one thing. As I say, it can be washing the car, it can be even cleaning the kitchen work surface, okay? It's important for all those things that you do get your glutes fired up. And that is why I go on and on and on and on and on about glutes, because they support your back. Okay. So, was that helpful? A little bit of something, okay? Grand. So we will start off tonight. I'm going to switch the music on in just one moment. We will start off tonight by practicing going shallow squat, deep squat, coming up using our glutes, okay? Not using our lower back. So let me just get the music started. Okay. So if you would like to take, I'm going to stand sideways, your feet underneath your hips. Remember that is about 1 fist width apart between your feet. Okay? Really important, take your weight even through your feet, so between your heels and your toes, left and right. Land your weight nice and evenly so that you're switching on front and back of the thighs, glutes and abdominals. Okay? For the tight backs, because I know I've had a couple of people say, tight back, okay? Really think about finding some length down the back of your spine. So go into a shallow squat, knees coming gently out over the feet. Allow the tailbone to lengthen towards the floor, taking all the tension out of that lower back and coming up. So that's a really little tiny squat, okay? I call it a lengthening squat. Again, dropping down, lengthening the tailbone towards the floor, letting the tension out of the back and coming back up. If you were to look sideways on your camera, I know most of you are looking forwards at the moment, you will see that your trunk stays above your pelvis and it stays above your feet. Okay? What you don't want, we're not going skiing, okay? But some people have the tendency to go the other way and almost fall backwards. So check that alignment and then allow the tailbone to go. Okay, from here, again for the tight backs, really think about curling. So you're going to go shallow squat with a length and then deep squat, but curl that tailbone underneath you. Bring the head forwards and you're lengthening the whole spine. Now coming up, I want you to come up using your buttocks and your thighs. Up you come. Land that weight evenly in your feet, and if you have, you can float up onto your toes, nice and easily. Coming down. Weight even, shallow squat, lengthen, think about your alignment, and then curl. Allow the tailbone to go underneath you. Buttocks and thighs to bring you up. Okay, so we're not wanting the back to bring you up. And again, lengthen, curl. Now nice big strong bottoms to pop you up. Okay, and again, lengthen, curl, and coming up. One more time, we're going to go down. Well, one more time before we add to it. Curl, and coming up. So the people who asked about swimming, this one is important for swimming because it's thinking about utilising the shoulder blades with the buttocks without the lower back. Okay, so we're going to add, we're going to go shallow squat, deep squat. Now as you come up, you're also going to lengthen your arms to the ceiling. So we're going to come up, use your buttocks, but control that lower back. And again, lengthen, curl, and then buttocks and shoulder blades as you come up. So we're not allowing any arching into the back. Okay, and again, we're going to go lengthy squat, deep curly squat. Take the tension away, and then use your buttocks and your shoulder blades to come up. Okay, if you're there and you're nice and central, you should be able to float up onto your toes. And again, lengthy squat. Lengthen the lower back. Curly squat. Coming up, buttocks and shoulder blades onto those toes. Utilise those deep centre muscles. Coming down. One more time. Lengthy squat. So that's quite a little one. Big curly squat. And coming up, buttocks and shoulder blades. Good. And coming down. Okay. Right, from here, we're going to go into an open hip twist, and then we're going to add in a little bit of glute stretching in standing, which is a balance as well, okay? So we're going to come up into standing tabletop. Grow tall or lengthen out of the stance hip. And then keeping that side facing forwards, open the other side out. And bring it back and down. Swap sides, grow tall, lengthen, coming up into standing tabletop, and then rotate to open. Rotating to close, coming down. And again, come up, open, back and down, lengthen, open, coming back and down. Now if you need a chair for balance, then you've got one handy tonight, so that's good. Okay, so we're going to come open, or up, sorry, open. Now bring it across you and sit down into it. So there's a glute stretch, tight glutes. Coming up and out. And you need quite a bit of control to do it like that. Okay? So we're going to come up into standing tabletop. Open hip twist. Bring it across onto your opposite knee. Take yourself down into a standing glute stretch, but also a balance. Coming back up with control. Lovely. And again, grow tall. Out of your stance leg. We're going to open. Bring it across onto your opposite knee. Sink down. Take the tailbone behind you. Find that stretch in your buttock. Good. Come up. And bring it back. Now the next one, if you can incorporate your head without falling over, then we're going to lengthen through the whole spine by looking down to the floor. So cross your foot over your knee and curl. Now bring that head down, curl your tailbone, and you've got your glute stretch. And then stand back up. And down. Okay, we're just going to do a couple more. So one more to each side. Coming up. Control the open hip twist. Good. Cross your foot over your knee. Sink down, stretch your glute, look to the floor. And coming up. And down. Last time. Stand tall out your stance leg. Open. Cross your foot over your knee. If you can manage it, nod your chin to your chest as you sink down. Find your stretch in your buttock. Curl your tailbone. And then coming up with control. Okay, so if you'd like to take your arms like this, this is a little bit of shoulder dissociation work. Okay, so again, I know I've got a couple of people with shoulder injuries out there at the moment. These ones are really important for you. We're wanting to move the arms without the shoulder blades joining in to begin with. So if you'd like to rotate out of that ball and socket of the shoulder joint, and that rotation takes the hands. And you only go as far as you can without your shoulder blades pinching together. Rotate back in. And again, we're rotating out, keeping those shoulder blades still, and rotating back in. Now as you're doing this, can you just have a little think back to your feet? Make sure that your feet are A, hip distance apart. You haven't landed them all squiffy, okay? And B, that your weight is even, heels, toes, left and right, which means that the rest of your system is working equally upwards. Okay? Now we're going to take this a little bit further. So from here, we're going to open, right open to a nice big chest stretch and coming down. So then your shoulder blades are moving, but hopefully they're moving in a nice healthy way. Okay. So we're going to rotate out, up. Particularly the shoulder people, make sure you're leading with your thumbs. Okay, so if we lead with our thumbs, we have our shoulders in the most open position, which means that we're minimising the risk of injury. So that's how we should do that. Okay, coming up. Lengthen the rib cage. Now really breathe into that length of the rib cage. Coming down. And again, rotating. Now we're going to stay up there. I'm just going to turn to the side. Take your palms face forwards. Swimmers, for freestyle, this is important. Okay, so we're going to go back with the opposite arm, opposite leg, utilising our glutes, our buttocks and our shoulder blades, but keeping our lower backs nice and quiet. Okay, so from here, we're just going to go back into extension, opposite arm, opposite leg, but use your buttock and your shoulder blade to take it there, and then let go. Other side, go back into extension, but only as far as you can control that lower back, and then return. And again, we're going to go back, and return. Swapping, we're going to go back, and return, and again, and return, and again, and return. One more to each side, keep that nice control. Keep focusing on the lower back staying quiet, and the effort coming from the shoulder blade to the glutes. Well done, bring the arms back down. Okay, right, from here, we're going to do some pelvic tilts in a wide stance. So I'll show you from the front and I'll show you from the side. Your feet are going to be wider than your hips, okay? This again, for those with tight lumbar spines or tight glutes, if you're thinking about the fact that your lumbar spine tightness will lead to a tight glute eventually or vice versa, these are really important for you. Okay, so we're going to be wide stance, we're going to drop down like that. Okay, front side, you've still got your weight even, left and right, heels and toes. We're dropping down, hands onto our hips, and we're going to do some pelvic tilts. Okay, so from here, curl your tailbone underneath you and really feel like you're opening up that lower lumbar spine, and then let it go. Most people don't really need to go too much the other way. And again, curl it underneath you. Tip the water out the back of your pelvic bucket, if you like to think about it like that. And let it go. And again, curl underneath you. Open up that lumbar spine. And letting it go. And again, curl. And let it go. Now, before you do your next one, I just want you to think about the arches of your feet. Can you subtly draw the arches of your feet up? Using the muscles in the arches of your feet, not scrunching your toes. Okay? And then keep going. We're going to curl the tailbone underneath you. And let it go. And again, curl the tailbone. Let it go. And again. And letting it go. One more time, curl underneath you, let it go. Okay, have yourself come out of that squat just for a moment. Okay, keeping the legs wide and the toes gently pointed outwards. We're going to do some rotational roll downs, okay, or windmills as I sometimes like to think of them. So take your arms out wide so you look like a nice big star. As with our normal roll downs, it's really important that you think about doing these segmentally, so you're moving the spine one segment at a time. Sally, you can do it like that if you need to, okay? We're going to go opposite hand towards, opposite foot as comfortable for you. So take a breath in, and as you breathe out, nod your chin to your chest, lead with the crown of your head. You're going to slowly rotate, going down as far as feels right for you. Allow your knees to soften. Breathe in to hold, lengthen your tailbone to the ceiling. Breathe out as you curl your waist slowly back up. Okay. Now before we do the next one, think about drawing up the arches of the feet again and try and maintain that foot arch. And again, when we're breathing out, curl down, chin to chest, lead with the crown of the head. Keep the weight even through the feet. Go as far as feels right for you. Breathe in as you lengthen your tailbone to the ceiling, and then you're going to breathe out as you slowly curl your way back up. Okay. And again, we're breathing in, breathing out. So really try and find that segmental movement through the lumbar spine as well as through the mid-spine. Breathing in, lengthen your tailbone to the ceiling, draw your foot arches so nice and strong feet. Breathing out as you curl up. If you're wondering why I'm suddenly going on about foot arches, I'm doing courses at the moment and they're going on about foot arches. Okay? Breathing in, breathing out, curl, Lead with the crown of the head. Curling down, lengthening the tailbone. As you breathe, breathing out as you curl your way back up. One more to each side, breathing in. Breathing out as you curl. Breathing in. Breathing out to come back up. Okay, last one. Breathing in to prepare. Breathe out as you curl. Chin to chest. Lengthen as you breathe in. And then breathing out as you curl up. Curl up, tailbone, lumbar spine, rib cage, mid-spine, shoulders, neck and head. Okay? And bend your knees and we're going to come down to the floor. Now we're actually going to do a little glute stretch again, so that I'm making sure that we're getting the requests. If you like or need to sit up on something to get your height in your system, then feel free to sit up on a big cushion, okay? If you're doing that, it's because your hamstrings are a little bit tight. Right, so our glute stretch in this position that we're going to do, and I think it's a lovely one, it gets into the spine as well. So take your left leg and cross it over your right knee. Okay. Take your right arm and hook your elbow around your left knee, if you can manage that. Okay. Sit up tall, so we've still got the length in the spine. Draw that knee as close into you as you can, so you should already have your glute stretch. And now rotate and look over your left shoulder. Draw your left shoulder blade down towards your buttock. Grow tall. Now use your breath, so take a really good big deep breath in, and as you breathe out, just wind your stretch up a little bit. So you've got a nice spinal twist in here as well. Breathing in, and breathing out, wind it all up. 2 more times, breathing in, breathing out, wind it up. Breathing in, breathing out, winding it up. Good. Coming out. Okay, now if you have got specific tightness, you can clearly do that for longer. Okay? Cross the other side, so you've got your right foot over your left knee. Sit up tall. Hook your left elbow around your right knee. It's a nice shoulder blade stretch as well. Find that height and then turn and rotate over your right shoulder. Draw your shoulder blades down towards your bottom, so you've not got your shoulders hunched up towards your ears. So it's still strong. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, wind it up a touch. So use your breath to lengthen your system. And again, big breath in. Breathing out to rotate and wind it up. 2 more, breathing in, breathing out as you rotate, and 1 more big breath in, breathing out as you rotate it round that tiny little bit more, and then let it go. Okie doke. Right, from here we are going to go into some pelvic tilts. So if you would like to take your normal little head cushion, we're going to lie down. Okay, so again, those with tight lumbar spines or tight glutes, these are for you. Okay, and the pelvic tilt, the freedom of the pelvic tilt is stated over and over and over to be one of the most important biomechanical mechanisms in our system. Okay, so important for lots of other aspects of our body that we can do this nicely. All right, from here, we're going to start to gently flatten the back onto the mat or onto the floor, but you're only going to do that as much as you can without squeezing your bum. and then release, and as comfortable, roll the other way. Okay, and again, flattening the back, so a northwards pelvic tilt, but without any bottom squeeze, and then tilting it the other way, and again, flattening the back. So you're trying to use your deep muscles to actually do the pelvic tilt rather than your big external muscles, okay? And that's how you will give your lumbar spine its freedom back. Okay, so if everything big around it is clinging on for dear life, you can't expect your lumbar spine to be able to move. If you can use your deep muscles to create the movement and support through the movements, then that's when you've got your nice freedom of your spine. Okay, so we're just going to do one or two more of those. Now, I'm not sure if the person who was hurting a little bit through lots of running is here, but just in case they are, we'll just do a few little hamstring stretches off here. So if you could take hold of a thigh and just interlink your fingers behind, pull your toes towards you, and you're going to lengthen your leg towards the ceiling, as straight as is comfortable for you. Okay? And then you're going to bend and lengthen, and bend. Now each lengthen, see how high you can get your heel to the ceiling whilst keeping a straight leg. Okay, so really think about putting your toes towards you and lengthening your heel towards the ceiling. And this is a nice way to kind of just gain some length in tight calves and hamstrings. Notorious for getting tight with running. Okay, so I'll just do one more to this side, then we'll swap over, because clearly not everybody out there is suffering with that. So place that leg down and swap sides. And then the other side. So pull your toes towards you, straighten your knee, lengthen your heel towards the ceiling, and release. And lengthen, and release. Your ideal is getting a 90-degree angle, leg to ceiling, okay? That's what we're all aiming at. That's what we should be able to do. Now, some people who have a lot of elasticity in their system may be able to get their leg almost over their head to the floor comfortably, okay? But that's not the average person. But we are looking to try and achieve 90 degrees. Okay, last couple of these. Again, this will help with tight glutes, tight lower back. So it's all connected. Good. And then we're going to lower that down. Okay, right, we're going to go on to our sides. Okay, swimmers, this is you. Okay, I can see you watching, so I know you're there. Now, it's really important, and this is really important in running as well, actually. So this is not just swimming, and it's important in walking, but it is very important in swimming. We've got our stability down what we call our lateral lines. That's all the muscles that work down the outside of your body. And every time you take a stroke in freestyle, you are wanting to lengthen and stabilise through the side of your body, okay? So, the straighter you can make yourself, the better. You've got your arm long underneath you, and you've got your legs, so you can hardly see them, okay? But your lower back is still in a neutral position, so we've not achieved that by just having a big archy back. We've still got that core stability around here, supporting, and our glutes are stabilising our legs and our lower back, okay? Take your other arm up to the ceiling and feel like you connect your shoulder blade towards your bottom. If you're really struggling for balance, you're allowed to dip one index finger on the floor, okay? So from here, We're going to subtly take that top leg up. Now, only work within your balance control. You're going to glide that top leg forwards and glide that top leg back. We'll all be different. You'll be different on one side to the other side. That much I can pretty much guarantee. So we're going to glide forwards and we're going to glide backwards. Now, doing this, you're working all the muscles down the outside of the body. You're working your shoulder blade muscles. You're working your buttocks. What you're not doing is allowing your lower back to move. So your lower back needs to stay completely still. And you're only moving within the control that you've got. The stronger you get with this, the further you can move it. Okay? There's also many ways to cheat with this exercise. So if you find that you are doing a huge movement, I expect you've probably got a little cheat mechanism going on. And the easiest cheat is for the underneath leg to be bent. Okay. So just going to do a couple more of those. And then we're going to hover. We're going to hover just lengthened. We're going to do a little bit of glutes work off it. Okay, so take that leg 2 inches higher and then draw some backward circles. With your left leg, these are anti-clockwise. With your right leg, they'll be clockwise. Your backward circles are only as big as you can maintain the control in your pelvis and your lumbar spine. Okay? Try and keep them coming from your hip joint. So these circles are not your toes, your feet or ankles. They're coming from your hip joint. They're utilising the glutes and your obliques to help stabilise. Good. Hold. Another inch higher or two. A few more backward circles. Okay. Your bums should be screaming at you. Keep your legs straight. Keep your stability on your side. Keep your shoulder blades collected. Don't give up. Well done. Okay, lower that leg. Give it a rub down. Okay, from here, we're going to stick with the swimming theme just for a moment. And this exercise is called swimming. Okay, so you've got your small cushion. We do this one quite regularly. It's all about control, and it's still about control of the lower back, utilising the buttocks, utilising the shoulder blades. You've got your neck long, so you're looking down at the mat. Please make sure you can breathe and you haven't got your nose squashed into a cushion. And your arms are long out in front of you, your legs behind you. Okay? We're going to go straight into level 3 tonight. So, before you do anything, can you gently curl the tailbone down towards the mat so that you're lengthening that lumbar spine, and that will place you in neutral. Now, the difficult thing is not the lifting of the arms and legs for some people, but it's maintaining that controlled lumbar spine pelvic position. Okay, so keep that. So you're curling the tailbone down towards the floor. Now from here, hover opposite arm, opposite leg, from your shoulder blade and your buttock. It's a tiny little lift for most people. And then lower. Opposite side. Hover the opposite arm, opposite leg, and lower. So your lower back is long. It's controlled, so that means we're not arching. It's also quiet. So what I mean by quiet is that you're not using the muscles in the lower back. All the lift is coming from the opposite shoulder blade and opposite buttock. Okay? If you can't do this without your lower back kicking in, then make your movements smaller, or what I even term sometimes an almost lift. So again, if you come to my classes, you'll know that sometimes I take people right back, and we start at the place which you can control, and that's not actually lifting an arm and a leg, but it's almost, and it's getting the idea, the concept of doing it, getting the correct muscles to start activating so that eventually you can do a lift. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you can't,
but don't cheat. So we're just going to do a couple more of those. Good. And lower the arm and the leg. Okay. Bring yourself into a half shell stretch position. So we're here. So we're now back to the tight lumbar spines. Okay. So you've got your arms in front of you, but we're not in a full shell stretch. And from here, this is pelvic isolation again. Can you curl your tailbone towards the floor, and then as comfortable, curl your tailbone towards the ceiling. So it's somewhere between a cat stretch and a shell stretch. Curl your tailbone to the floor, find some length. You've got loads of opportunity to move here. And then curl your tailbone towards the ceiling. And again, curl towards the floor, and curl towards the ceiling. Again, curl towards the floor, curl towards the ceiling, curl towards the floor, hold it there. We're going to add a little bit of thoracic work. So, from here, moving from the place between your shoulder blades, can you rotate? Let the rotation lift an arm. And that means maintaining a connection between your shoulder blade and your rib cage. And then rotate back. And I've got to say, look to your hand. So rotate from the mid spine, look to your hand, and rotate back. Remember, your arm is attached. It's not flapping around separately like a wing. Okay, so maintain that connection. Swimmers, again, really think very hard about that connection, shoulder blade to rib cage, because you're going to give yourself an awful lot more strength if you do. Okay, again, rotating. Now the other thing I can see on screen is some people have locky out elbows. Okay, if you've got a locky out elbow, soften your elbows. I'm just going to do one more to each side. So rotating, can keep that connection, soft elbows on the floor, have the arm on the floor, and then the other way, and down. Good, we're going to go on to our other sides. So you're going to make yourself really nice and long. Remember to check that you are long. If you look down, you should only just see your toes but not your legs. However, you should only be like that if you can do it having a healthy back position, not if it means having a real big arch in your back to get there. Lengthen your tailbone again, so try and curl your tailbone underneath, and that will place you in a much better neutral position. Take the top arm up towards the ceiling if you're comfortable to do that, keeping the connection between your shoulder blade and your buttock. Okay? Side kick, and it's tough this, so remember, go little. We're going to hover from the buttock, a little kick forwards and a little kick backwards. And again, a little kick forwards and a little kick backwards. Now I'm going to talk you through a couple of the cheats, okay? So one cheat would be to start bending that underneath leg or the underneath arm. Another cheat would be that that leg comes forwards and it gives you a better base of support. Okay, so that's why we need that leg there. Another cheat that you might not think about is really pushing into the floor with that underneath arm and that little finger or that triceps. Okay, so how much can you relax the underneath arm while still maintaining the side kick movement, still maintaining the control in your lower back, and not having a big old wibble wobble all over the place. And remember, this is your lateral stability, so it's the muscles that work up the outside of the body to stabilise us every time we take a step, or, as I said, for the swimmers who swim front crawl or freestyle, every time you take a stroke. These are the muscles that we want kicking in, okay? Right, from here, have one leg on top of the other. Lift through your buttock. Here's your glute work. Backward circles. Your right leg, they're clockwise. Your left leg, they are anti-clockwise. Nice and slow. Make sure that they're coming from the hip, not the foot or the ankle or the toes. And that your lower back is staying controlled. That your trunk is staying controlled, so we're not rolling around. Which means that they can be quite small, and that's okay. Good, halt. Go an inch higher. And again, get those glutes working. It's the only stuff we're doing on them to strengthen them tonight, so make sure you do it well. Keep the connection of the top shoulder blade down to the buttock. Keep the connection of the underneath shoulder blade down to its buttock. Try not to wobble around, so try and maintain that stability. Okay, and lower. And I expect most of you might have found you had an easier side and a harder side to do that. Okay, right, back into a stretch. After working and strengthening and slightly tightening those glutes, here's one to let them off. Okay, so this is a glute stretch again and a lumbar stretch. If you're not comfortable doing this, you can go back to doing what we did before in sitting. But you're going to bring one leg forwards and fold it underneath you. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. So you've got the knee in front of you. You've got quite a strong stretch in your bum already. Slide the back leg away and come down. And there's a stretch into that buttock. It's quite a big, deep stretch. Okay, now you can go deeper down to the floor if it's right for you, but it won't be right for everybody. Again, use your breath. So big breaths in. Every time you breathe in, you lengthen your fascial system. So if you're breathing in, you stretch. As you breathe out, you've got that little bit more to give. Okay. Now, from here, bring yourself up onto your hands, so you've got some support. Curl that back leg and step that front foot forward. We're going to stretch the hip flexor of that back leg. Okay. So come nice and tall. Tuck the tailbone underneath you. And then glide the pelvis subtly forwards, and you should find a stretch in the front of your hip of the leg that's your back leg. Okay, now slightly glide out of it, and then glide back into it. It's quite subtle. Little tiny glide out, and a little tiny glide back in. All the while keeping that tailbone tucked, so we're not going into the lower back at all. This should not be tightening your lower back. Okay, and then from here, keep your legs as they are, but straighten your front leg, pull your toes up towards you, take your tailbone out behind you, and bend forwards into a hamstring stretch. Let your head come down. Use your foot if you want to hold on to and lengthen around your shoulder blades as well. Good, and then we're going to swap sides. Okay, so step that other leg forwards, the one that's been stretched, step it forward, fold it underneath you and sink back. I know that those with really dodgy, one or two people have got quite sore knees, and this clearly won't work for you. Okay. Come down. Find that stretch in your buttock. Send the back leg away behind you, and then if it's right for you, go yourself a little bit deeper. Using your breath, so big deep breaths. Just increasing that stretch slightly each time you breathe out. Good, and then coming up out of that, so onto your hands to give yourself some support. Step the bent leg forwards. And you're into a hip flexor stretch on your other side. Okay. Lengthen that tailbone. Curl that tailbone underneath you so that your lower back is protected. And then glide the pelvis forwards into a hip flexor stretch. And release. So remember your hip flexor stretches, they're stretching here. They should never go into your lower back. If they're going into your lower back, you're basically arching. So keep that tailbone curled underneath you. And that means that your lower back is saved any compressive force. And come out. A couple more times. Keep the tailbone curled as you go down. And out. And again. And then we'll go into our hamstring stretch on this side. Again, hamstrings very much connected to the glutes, so you can't really separate the whole chain. Good. Now straighten that front leg. Pull your toes up towards you. Stick your tailbones behind you this time. So this time really stick them away. And then fold down. If you want to add a shoulder blade stretch, then hold onto your foot or your leg, wherever feels appropriate to you. And again, use your breath. Good, coming up. Bring your feet underneath you. Okay. So in the deep squat position, you are allowing that lower back, that tailbone just to let go a little bit towards the floor, lengthening the back, okay? And then once again, we're going to be jack in the boxes using our glutes to fire us up, okay? So 1, 2, 3, up we go. Lengthen the arms, think about that connection, shoulder blade to feet and onto your toes. And big circle round, curl back down. Okay, allow the tailbone to curl. Bring your head down so you're like a little ball. Lengthen the top of your spine down to the base of your spine. And then look up and glutes to bring you up onto your toes. Can you do it all on your toes even? And big circles down. So we'll do 2 more just to finish off. When you come up, see if you can stay on your toes all the way up. Think about your big toes. So curl into a little ball. Lengthen. And lots of glutes to bring you up, up, on your toes, stabilize, use those deep center muscles, and coming down. One more time, curling, 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 curling. And glutes to bring you up,